How important was it to get this done as early as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it was important. We wanted to get the best deal possible. So Calgary emerged out of the gate as maybe the strongest front runner. And so we had talked to every team in the league. The East was very, very set. There's a handful of other teams that had reached out and kind of kicked the tires, but Calgary was definitely the strongest one. In terms of the contract, there's a very large bonus due in January, and we had to get ahead of that. So getting it done soon is better for everybody.
Do you worry about playing him?
Absolutely. He's a quality quarterback. He's a great human being. So, it's only a 9-team league, and so you can't send somebody off to obscurity where you're never going to play him again. This is just the reality of the CFL. So ideally, we would have loved to have moved him to the East where we wouldn't have to play him as much, but that just didn't happen.
Can Rourke find the 2022 version?
Yeah, we hope so. And again, a lot of that I think is the culture that the new coach is going to bring in. So we have to add talent around him. Frankly, some of our personnel dropped off this year. We've got to put more talented players around him to get the most out of Nathan.
Ryan, you mentioned you spoke to all the teams. How many teams were seriously interested in acquiring Vernon Adams?
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3. But again, Calgary emerged right out of the gate as the one that I think had the most interest and wanted to start talking, negotiating right away. So there are a couple of the teams that, hey, let me know, or hey, if you get into a jam and you want to move him, they would have considered that. But in terms of the best offer and the best fit, this was it.
What were you ultimately really looking to get in return? Was it draft picks, a number of draft picks? First, what were you ultimately trying to get out of this deal?
Yeah, we looked at everything. Players, picks, ultimately ended up with the picks, with the compensation that you guys have seen, and we're happy with that. But again, from our perspective, that contract with the bonus upcoming and then the 2026 guarantee, that's something that we just couldn't do within the salary cap. So that part of the move is just as important as the compensation.
Hiring a coach, this Vernon Adams deal as well, 2 big things on your plate right away.
Yeah.
How have you kind of dealt with all this that's fallen on your lap here?
Yeah, we've been working. It's been, sun up to sundown. So we're right in the middle of interviews when this happened this morning. And so I had to push a couple of things back. But yeah, these are 2 huge things that were on our plate. Obviously, we've got VA done and now full-time into the coaching search.
Was it important to get this done with that in mind as well, get the Vernon Adams trade done and then shift the focus onto the coaching side of things?
Yeah, it's more important to get the best deal possible for the club. And so if that took another week or 2 or however long it took, we were going to do that. But again, we were very satisfied with this deal, all things considered, and we're going to move forward.
Tough is it to trade him in the division?
It's tough. So like I said, ideally it would have been great to move him out east where he wouldn't have to play him as much, but there's only 9 teams in this league and the East is very set with their quarterbacks. So we know he's a quality player, he's a quality human being, and I would have preferred to do it that way, but this was the best deal and it's the best fit.
Yeah, I mean, were there any other serious bidders, or was it all just tire kicking?
It was tire kicking for the most part. There was a couple that kind of came in at the last minute that said, hey, well, we might consider this, and the compensation just wasn't close. And so this was the best deal for the club.
Ryan, a lot of last year, a lot of people were questioning Nathan's situation, and I don't think anybody really wanted to admit what he'd been through had any effect on how he played when he came back. I mean, looking at this realistically, was it tough for him to go through what he went through, jumping from team to team to team and not play games? Like, how did that affect the way he was able to perform this past season?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily about performance, but I think every player wants to play. And so, if you're Nathan and you're in the NFL and you're not getting meaningful reps, I think that matters. And I think it certainly factored into his decision to come back. So, can we get him back to that 2022 level? I think so. We've all seen him do it. Again, we've got to add more talent around him. Coaching becomes a huge factor in that. But Nathan's got the ability, he's certainly got the work ethic, and we think he can do it.
But there's a lot of mental stuff involved in football, all these different playbooks. Like, I know he was here before, but things have changed a bit. How difficult is that for especially a quarterback to absorb all that information and be able to put it into practice?
I think it was borderline superhuman for him to do what he did. 4 playbooks, come back and play Winnipeg on 4 days, I think it was. So I honestly don't know any other quarterback that could do what he did. So he certainly has the mental ability. I think if you talk to Nathan, he would say that any NFL system he learned, he correlated that with what he'd learned here. So I think in the back of his mind, our offense kind of was that starting off point, maybe that jumping off point. But still, asking anybody to do that, I think is absolutely amazing.
With Vernon, he is very much a beloved player, league-wide. How much of a concern is there that he might become Calgary's best recruiter and it might make it harder for you to do your job?
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of it. The counter to that is, again, the coach that we bring in and Nathan being one heck of a quarterback as well. So Vernon was a tremendous help for us both on and off the field. He was a great recruiter in helping get players like Stanback and some others. So can Nathan do that? I think he can, and I think he will. And again, it's our job to get Nathan back to 2022 with any means possible.
Yeah, and with that, I know that you've talked about offense being the priority for your next head coach, but from Nathan's perspective, we talked about the difficulties of 4 teams and all of that, but he comes back to a place that was, for lack of a better description, his safe haven, right?
Sure.
And it did not go well. The coaching staff has changed. It depending on who you hire, it could entirely change. So a piece of that is now gone. So while he's got clarity, Vernon's gone, it's his team, it's entirely different than what he left in 2022. How much of a factor is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. Adjustment's always going to be constant, and it's going to be difficult. So Nathan's mental capacity and work ethic and his ability to be the player that we've seen before comes into effect there. So can Nathan absorb a new offense if that's the case? Absolutely. Let me correct you a little bit. I want to find the best leader for this team. Offense is great, and in the past, I think we'd all considered that to be a possibility, but I want to find the best leader of the club.
When it comes to the coaching staff, how much do you consider the skills of your quarterback when you're hiring coaches?
Say it again.
Well, if you're looking for a coach and you know what the skill set is you have in Nathan Rourke, when you're considering coaches, their philosophy and stuff like that, how much do you consider the coaches versus the quarterback skill set?
Yeah, no, we want a head coach that can maximize Nathan's skill set. So that's something that we're asking every coach. Hey, what do you think of our quarterback? What kind of strengths do you see with him? What kind of weaknesses? What does he need to improve on? What do you see when you defend him? That's something we're asking the defensive coaches. So you're always gathering information. Again, the marriage between offensive coordinator, head coach, and Nathan has to be right, and we need to get that right.
Can you make it work at the salary number we've seen for Nathan? Can you make the cap work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think part of that is finding young talent that can come in and compete right away. I think it changes your free agency perspective maybe a little bit. You may not be as active as you used to be, but we're very confident in the scouting staff and finding new talent that are going to be under rookie contracts.